Pamela, and we're talking unconditional love today, but we have two gentlemen on the show today who have really interesting stories and are going to give us some good insight about their experiences with unconditional love. But I'd first like to introduce them. So first here, and sitting here to my left, I have Mr. Ron Chapman with a professional career spanning 40 years. Ron Chapman is a practice-based facilitator, leadership consultant and coach, and a trainer and workshop leader. He is also one of 75 internationally accredited speakers and workshop leaders in the world through Toastmasters International. He holds a master's in social welfare and has published a number of white papers in and with his current primary clientele, the field of public health, and more specifically the Centers for Disease Control. He has published 4 books, 3 audio sets, and twice won the National Federation of Press Women Award for radio commentary. So you might be able to, outdo me here on the radio. Known as a master coach and facilitator, he maintains multiple businesses, which can be seen at magneticnorthllc.com. And seeing, there's more, leadingpublichealth.com, seeingtrue.com. That's the one I'm most familiar with, seeingtrue.com, progressiverecovery.org, and his master site, which is ronaldchapman.com. And he and I have really kind of, collaborated or shared stories around our interest in post-traumatic growth, which happens after traumatic experiences and you grow from it, which I think Steve may know a little something about the idea of growing after traumatic experiences. And so to give you an introduction of Steve, Steve Pemberton, first of all, he is his book inspired the movie that is called A Chance in the World, and he is based on his novel. His story is about defying seemingly unsurmountable odds to become a trailblazing corporate executive, enlightened diversity leader, visionary youth advocate, and acclaimed speaker. His best-selling memoir, A Chance in the World, recounts his triumphant life journey and drive to become a man of resilience, determination, and vision. Now, an upcoming major motion picture, A Chance in the World, further amplifies Steve's highly motivational messages, which are believe in your dreams, rise above obstacles, create opportunities for others, and most of all, persevere. I love it. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. This is great. And Steve, you're coming to us from Illinois. Is that correct?
I'm coming from Chicago.
From Chicago.
Yeah. I needed some warm weather.
Yeah. How's it there right now?
Finally.
Okay.
Finally. Spring arrived yesterday. But only yesterday.
And then you left.
It may be gone tomorrow, too.
Okay.
So.
I lived in Milwaukee, so I'm pretty familiar with the weather patterns there. So now you have a film coming, and it's an inspirational true story, your own experience, correct? And it makes its world premiere in movie theaters when is it, the 30th?
Wednesday.
The 30th, yes.
Wednesday, May 30th.
Yes. And it's based on your book, and it is, I can imagine that it has to be really surreal to see your story on the big screen.
Oh, absolutely. It was surreal just watching it unfold.
Yeah.
The first time I walked onto a movie set. And I saw all these sights and sounds, and it's the closest thing you'll come to time travel.
Wow.
If I take a memory, something that you have, and I said, describe it to me, and then I built a movie set based on your description, and then I didn't tell you, and I just put you there.
Yeah. Chills.
You think that you're right back in that moment because of sight, sounds, color, smells, everything is. At one point, I told the director, I said, how did you duplicate all this? And he says, we just followed your book.
You wrote it well.
Apparently.
Yeah, wow. And so we're going to go to trending topics, but I would love to learn a little bit more about what this film is. We saw the trailer, and we're going to go ahead and also put the trailer on the website so people can see it and everything. But it's really compelling and heart-wrenching at moments. And so I would love for you to share with everybody what the storyline is. But first, we're going to go to trending topics.
Michael Jackson. Trending topics.
All right. So trending is, unfortunately, we had another school shooting that happened at Santa Fe High School in Santa Fe, Texas. The suspect is a 17-year-old Dimitrios Pagritis. I'm probably mispronouncing his word. He's now in custody. He used a shotgun and a .38 caliber revolver that he took from his father. Explosive devices were also found in the high school and surrounding areas, and it's kind of that. I don't know. It feels like we're getting more and more numb to this because I've seen less and less conversation around this than I have seen in previous situations, which is really disheartening. I was ready for the heated debates about gun control and not gun control and, what do we do about it, but it was pretty relatively silent, at least on my social media. I don't know if you all experienced the same thing, but it was just kind of really interesting the way that this one, I guess the response to this particular shooting, disturbing. And so, I'm not sure, what's going to come out of this, but I do know that, it's just a tragedy that just seems to just continue to repeat itself. And hopefully at some point we're going to come up with some solutions. But it is a really difficult issue to address. I mean, when it's random and you don't know who within a crowd has some, a gun with negative intent, that's a tough one. So, on a brighter note, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, they tied the knot. And I have to say, I am one of those enthusiasts. I was very excited. I got up early in the morning. I watched the wedding. I was pleasantly surprised by the level of diversity and the way so much was integrated into the wedding. But I did have a lot of people who were, kind of the poo-pooers, like, who cares? Why are you watching that? What difference does it make? And I'm just a hopeful romantic, and just kind of anything love, all things love. Were you all into it or no? Not so much.
Well, I was really into it because
Okay.
it completely changes the profile of the royal family, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It's a game changer in a whole lot of important ways.
Absolutely.
I didn't get up early to watch it, but but I was very, very aware of it.
Yeah,
Very
and
aware of it.
apparently it wasn't necessary to get up watch it because it was replayed all throughout the day.
Well, I think to Ron's point, though, with this anti-diversity message that is cascading all throughout America and in different parts of the world, for those who are opposed, I hope they realize that we're just going to keep coming.
It's going to keep coming.
Like, you're not going to stop that.
Right.
You're not going to stop it.
Right.
So.
And that is so true. It's a train. It's coming through.
Right.
Get out the way or jump
Get
on
run
board.
over by it.
So I love it. All right, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to get a little bit, or we're not. Okay, we're not going to break. But I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your film and what is the, what's the basis of it?
It's implied in the title, A Chance in the World. I got that title from the diary entry of a babysitter who met me at 1.5 years old. I was in the care of my mother, who was in the middle of a losing battle with alcoholism and also locked in a battle with the Department of Social Services.
Okay.
I was very issue of her being a fit mother. But it was clearly a very desperate situation, and after a lot of back and forth, they came to take me from her.
Wow.
And I never saw her again.
Wow.
This,
Can I stop you there?
Yep.
You never saw her again. When we come back, we're going to go
Sure.
on from there. All right. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have to...
Ta-da! Twinsies.
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You use Tearless Baby Shampoo because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bath water to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You make sure she wears a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You put on his sunscreen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
Finding best potatoes for French fries.
No!
Russet. Fingerling. Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I'm joined by Ron Chapman and Steve Pemberton. And Steve was in the middle of telling us about his story that inspired the movie A Chance in the World, which comes out May 30th, by the way, nationally. And you left off at the place where you never saw your mother again. And what age were you at that point? 3. Okay. So what happens after that? And you don't have to tell us the whole movie, but or the book. But just
in fact, the movie's just a cruising altitude version of what we have, and most movies are, actually.
Right, absolutely.
I went then through a number of foster homes in a span of 2 years, too many to keep track of. Started in an orphanage, then multiple placements. And the very issue that I'm confronted by is that the system doesn't know what to do with me because of my appearance. So,
interesting.
African American boy, a blonde afro, blue eyes, light complexion, and a Polish last name.
Interesting.
So they were trying to figure out whether or not I belong with a white family or a black family, forgetting that the question wasn't what I was. The question was who I was, which was just a young boy in search of a home. It never happens. In fact, I wind up with one particular foster family who were just master manipulators of the system. And so I was locked in a battle with them for over 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was, and so when you say never, you said never, like you never really found that place. Is that?
No.
Did I understand that correctly?
No, okay. It never happened.
Okay, wow.
I live it today because of what was missing. So I created what I never had, and my wife Tanya and our children, Quinn and Vaughn and Kennedy. But it was also unnecessary. It was avoidable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's still happening all across the country today. I mean, foster care in America is an American crisis.
Yeah. And I don't hear that often enough, that foster care is an American crisis, and I think that is something that really needs to be brought out much more. We think about it when we see the heinous stories on the news, and we think about, well, where was Child Protective Services, and then we move on to the next thing after that case is, but I rarely hear of a collective movement addressing this as if it's a crisis, a national crisis.
Yeah, especially when is correlated to some of one of your trending topics, gun violence.
Yeah.
That when you unpack the stories of what leads these individuals to inflict that kind of damage upon society, it was a dysfunctional home, it was a broken childhood, and so that anger and rejection gets cast out upon the world and does enormous damage. Invariably, the 25 to 30,000 young people who age out of the foster care system invariably become part of another system: addiction, incarceration, teenage pregnancy.
Right.
So there's a price society pays for, as you rightly point out, this avoidance.
Absolutely. And one of the things we're going to get into the research. There, at one show that I did at one point, the research was about what they call, I can't think of the word right now, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and how so many people who've experienced that, and Ron and I have talked about this, how so many people who've experienced it are now going out in the world as adults, and the impact that ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, have on adults, and how that sort of gets recycled over time. And we really have to pay attention to that if we want a healthy society. But first, we're going to get into the research, and I invite you both to offer your feedback on the research that I'm going to present.
In the interest of science.
All right, so I don't know if you all have heard of this before, but it's called the Pygmalion effect, spelled Pygmalion effect. And first of all, let me tell you, the research is brought to you by the Sweetest Taboo Bakery and Delivery, located in Norcross, Georgia. There's no occasion too small or too big, and all products are made with immeasurable love. They will deliver the yumminess right to you. She came here on the show the other day and had these amazing, glowing, sparkly strawberries. They were so good. So I highly recommend them. But the Pygmalion effect, it's that whole idea that people tend to perform up to the level that you expect of them. One of the reasons why Ron and I agreed to do this show, particular this topic, was because we talked about how our expectations for other people shouldn't affect our the way that we behave. So it's so we should interact the way I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So we should basically have our own behaviors and be guarding our own behaviors rather than putting our expectations on other people. Pygmalion effect says the exact opposite. So this is the reason why I thought, this would be interesting. The Pygmalion effect explains that people tend to perform up to the level that others expect of them. It explains why our relationships are usually self-fulfilling prophecies. So if we say that, we expect to find somebody who loves us and cherishes us, then that's what we're going to receive and draw unto us. Maya Angelou, as I said at the beginning of the show, says we get what we expect. The Pygmalion effect, it came from basically a god. I think it was a god who basically created this beautiful image of a woman, and he fantasized over her. He's like, I would love this woman in my life. And as a way of encouraging him, Aphrodite granted that woman because of his expectations. And so the whole idea is that our expectations yield what we desire. And so so it's interesting because it's like, is it that, or is it that we shouldn't have this high level of expectations on people and we fulfill our needs on our own? So we're going to talk about that when we come back from the break. I probably jumbled the whole explanation, but we're going to clarify all of that when we come back. Stay with us.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media.
it, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
If you're looking for that ratchet, you're in the wrong place. It's the nation's urban internet station, Sensation Station Network.
All right. So, welcome back to the Live Exchange, and we are in the research, and so what we were talking about is the Pygmalion effect. Pygmalion was a gifted sculptor who created the statue of a woman so perfect that he fell in love with his creation. After he desperately prayed to Aphrodite, goddess of love, she took pity on him by bringing the statue to life. So it's the whole idea of if your expectations are ideally going to bring you what you desire. So I'm curious to know both of your points of view on that. Any thoughts?
So I'm going to go real philosophical, and then I'm going to set you up, Steve. This is perfect. Yeah. I'm going to go all Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Okay,
right?
I love
Who you
it.
are speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. What people pick up on is who we are, not the things we project upon them.
Okay.
How we hold ourselves, and my Angelou message of how they tell us who they are isn't in their words, it's how they present themselves.
Right.
And so I think the modeling question is who are we? How are we bringing ourselves there? Because that's how people experience it. There's Maya Angelou again. They remember how they experience you.
Right.
Which connects perfectly to Steve, because you said, I love this, it's not what I was, but who I was that was the real issue.
Right.
And so I'm not sure where you're going to go with that, Pamela, or where Steve's going to go with that, but I couldn't help connecting those dots of what I was hearing Steve say.
Yeah, one of the broader challenges I think that we're seeing though is the opposite of that in this current time. So the opposite of the Pygmalion effect is the Gollum effect. Low expectations lead to low success. And think about the words that are often used. Something that's important to me: foster care, at risk, underserved, disadvantaged. You've never met a child who, when you ask them to describe themselves,
labeling them.
Yes, they say, well, I'm underserved. Children don't describe themselves that way. So that word sets a low expectation, a Gollum effect, rather than the opposite of that, which is, despite it all, you have skills, talents, abilities because of that experience. So you see the world differently, you interpret the world differently, and because of that, it's going to make you really, really successful. Right. It's a complete shift in the mindset, and oftentimes a revelation to the people that you're sharing it with, because you may be the very first one to have ever expressed that to them. And so this is an age-old argument in sociology: is agency versus structure, psychology, nature versus nurture, looking glass self, and how the world is reflected back to you. But there's some responsibility upon the greater society. I think about women, people of color, GLBT community, disability community, that a lot of the images that are reflected back don't rise to the level of the Pygmalion effect. Right, so they're co-opted, they're marginalized. I can tell you, in the process of getting this film done, going out to Hollywood, and I couldn't tell you how many times I was asked if I wrote the book. I couldn't tell you how many times people told me how articulate and polished I was, because their frame of reference, and these are people politically who are left of center, so embraced in progressivism, and yet their expectations of who I was as an African American man, no, you can't write. They wouldn't say it to me that bluntly, but you could tell that's what they were thinking. Yeah. And they just couldn't connect the dots that the adverse experience, created an expectation of success, actually, not the other way around.
Wow. Post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
I went there exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that strange question of how do we take a Steve Pemberton and put him through the grinder and have him come out the other side made bigger, larger, wholer, versus the many, same circumstance as you, who were crushed by the experience. And we like to attribute that to individual will. It's like, no, Steve made up his mind. He's going to be a cool guy. Rather than us saying, honestly, so I mean, there's some strange cooker there that made you who you are that I don't think we can claim credit for, but it's a reflection of everything around us.
You're exactly right. You have to be very conscious of this attempt to put you on the pedestal. to suggest to you, well, Ron, you're just exceptional.
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but you're just exceptional. When a young person,
yeah,
with that we know.
Let's talk about me. No, please go ahead.
But you're right, because in a me-first, prosperity, gospel-driven society, somebody says, well, let me talk to you about how exceptional that you are, and after a while, you'll start believing that. But for the young people that I have met, if they see me as exceptional, there's another leap they make, which is, he's exceptional, Pamela's exceptional, but I'm not her.
Right.
I can't do what she's done.
Yes.
I'm not that. And so there's a consequence of allowing yourself to be elevated beyond the touch and the reach, and to say, well, behind a nice suit and polished words and published authors are stories of fighting and overcoming. In other words, struggles that you are right in the middle of, that we know a little something about. These edited lives that are on social media never share with you the pain, right? The uncertainty, the writing blocks, the how's it going to be received? Like none of that. How do I launch a radio program, et cetera? No, like none of those things.
Sliding down the shower walls, tears streaming down the face. Those moments happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Those moments are part of the story, and that's the part of the story that tends to get glossed over.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about this is how we have never flocked to a message or a story or a person who said it was a cavort through the tulip patch. We're only drawn to the hero's or heroine's journey. It's like, let me tell you how I got here.
Right.
And it's rarely let me tell you all my good decisions, all my incredible good values.
Right.
It's usually a dark descent into something from which post-traumatic growth emerges.
Right.
Yeah.
When I saw the trailer, I thought, this is heavy, and I wonder how, how does it unfold? Where does it go? And even there's a scene in the trailer where she rips up this paper and she said, "There's your scholarship," and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what happened? Between that moment and where I know you are now, what happened? And it always seems to come down to there's at least one person that made that difference, that turned the story. So I don't know where it goes, but that's going to be one of my guesses, that it had to do with somebody who stepped in and said, no, this is not what's going to happen.
Something different than that, actually.
Oh, see, that makes me even more curious.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Attention, licensed financial professionals. Are you looking to provide client solutions for longevity risks, withdrawal rate risks, and sequence of return risks? If you answered yes, then Game Plan Financial Marketing could be right for you. We help financial professionals at every level of production by providing mentoring, sales training, and marketing support to help you grow your business. At Game Plan, our top priority is supporting you and helping you reach that next level of success on your terms, not ours. New team members receive a personalized, step-by-step marketing guide to help take your business to the next level. Claim your copy today. Call Brian Cantrell at 404-889-6317. That's 404-889-6317. Offer is intended for licensed insurance professionals only.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to know how you can help? Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to help turn addiction around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
All right. Welcome back to the live exchange. We are talking about unconditional love. Right now, we're talking about Steve Pemberton and the film. And is it fair to say, was there a separate screenwriter? Did they take your book and then a screenwriter wrote based on your book? Is that how it happens?
Yes. So Mark Baddick, who also directed the film as well, adapted it and did a great job. Actually, he really. But I was also very involved in it, which is a rarity.
That's great.
So I got to tell him what was particularly important to me, and what I didn't want to have. You know, so I didn't want an excessive focus on the tragedy because I didn't create that,
Right.
and I wanted it to be instructive in particular. You know, the way forward.
I love it. So a minute ago we were talking about the Pygmalion effect and the expectations, and I would expect that some of the expectations you had growing up. I'll ask you about those expectations. Were those let down when you're in a situation where people are consistently not living up to what they're supposed to be living up to? What happens to expectations in a child? What happened for you?
Yeah, no, they were more the Gollum effect.
Okay.
You know, as far as I was concerned, they were put here for the express purpose of trying to break my spirit.
Okay.
They just had terrible and insidious rules. Couldn't be seen reading in their presence. I was to tell no one about the violence and hunger that was unfolding in that home. And then the words used, you know, you're going to be worthless, you know, I mean, just like daily battles. But all that was doing was just further sowing the seeds of my defiance.
Wow.
So every time they said that to me, I just doubled down, you know, but I never said anything to them. And in retrospect, had they known that all we're doing is just pouring more water on the seed of defiance that he came into the world with.
Right.
And ultimately, you know, that grew and allowed me to, you know, push my life, though it certainly didn't. It came with great risks in doing so, right? But, you know, there were two things I think that helped me a great deal. And I wasn't, this was not like a Blind Side where, you know, that movie is about the Toohey family that comes to adopt Michael Orr.
Which is what I was thinking.
Yeah,
so I'm glad you clarified
it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Okay.
It was the opposite of that. And even Michael Orr would tell you that story wasn't really the full story either. He was the agent.
Okay.
He was the one who initiated that.
Wow.
So he wasn't saved
Okay.
as much as he decided that he was worth saving. But something else comes out on the screen that results in him being a secondary actor in his own life story. That I wasn't going to do.
Right.
I wasn't going to do that.
Okay.
But what I love to read. So a love of learning, generally speaking, and reading just gave me a different worldview.
Did that change your expectations of them? Did you just say, you know what,
yes,
I can't.
It helped me. While even to this day, I never fully understand where darkness like that comes from.
Right.
And I don't spend a lot of time trying to understand it, especially when you're on the suffering end of it. You're not trying to understand it.
Right.
But on the other hand, it helped give me an alternate worldview to the one that they were trying to create for me. So as much time as they were spending trying to tell me that there was nothing I could do and no one was ever going to help me, the more and more that I was building my own, in my own imagination. I was building a world where I graduated from high school and I went to college and I found my biological family and I created my own family. And all of those things came to pass.
Yes.
So I'm just living up to the vision of the things that I read about as a young boy.
Wow. Powerful. All right. So we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to delve a little bit more into the story as well as Balance Challenge is coming up soon. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Danny on the beat.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through, like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, Brenna.
Hey, Prime.
Spring is in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Love is too, and the weather makes it nice to be out with your boo on a date, unless you don't have any money.
That's so true. But what are we going to do?
The Loop is going to look out for the people, because our loyal listeners look out for us on ssnatl.com, Radio Not Them Down. Now, we want you to share the good vibes with other people, those you like.
Or even the ones that you don't like, because, hey, they need it too.
Plus, we got enough to go around for everybody.
Oh, so share and share alike?
Oh, absolutely.
Like the post, tag 5 of your friends, and share the live.
When you hear us say,
you know what to do.
Tell them we on, so you can get this quick trip gift card right around the city, 285, 75, 85, top down, wind blowing your hair back, and the gas is on us. And maybe some treats too, so do this.
Like the post, tag 5 of your friends, and share the live.
When you hear us say, tell them we on, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. when you're inside the loop with Sean Prime and Brennan B.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
And so a new American industry has been born.
Sensation Station Network.
All right. Welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we're talking about, the overarching topic is unconditional love, but we are looking at each of the life situations of my guests here. Right now we're looking at Steve Pemberton, and based on the movie that he's been discussing. And one of the things that you had mentioned during the break is how the writing of this story is actually the writing of many people's stories. You probably said it better than I just did. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, the way I approached the book, my then 6-year-old son was asking me where my mother and father were. I had never talked about them. He had never seen them.
Okay.
So he wanted to know where they were. I see mommy's mommy and daddy's daddy. Where's your mommy and daddy?
Right.
That's how I wound up writing a book about that.
Okay.
And my expectation that I was going to put it on a shelf, future generations of Pembertons would read it. And almost immediately, something else began to unfold. The first letter I received was from a man from Ireland who he had contacted my publisher, got my email address, wrote to me, and said, I've been walking around with the pain of what I lost in my childhood for my entire life. But because of what you've written, I now have peace.
Wow.
And here at 73 years old, I thought I was never going to find that peace.
Wow. From Ireland.
From Ireland.
Goodness.
And so every day, and I mean every day, I hear a story like that. And they will move from, I'm thinking about becoming a foster parent, and I'm not entirely sure what I should do, and to it's helped me better understand my parents or who were adopted, all those different. And after a while, you realize that there are these mutual chapters that we all have. That is such a distinction from what are the national narratives. Because when you spend time with people and asking them what's their story and spending some time trying to understand their story, after a while you realize that even the differences that you have, one, they're not threatening, and more importantly, you find some common connection, these universal themes of family, faith, fortitude, forgiveness that touch and impact us all. So while those things can elevate, or the absence of them can cause a great deal of pain. If you don't have a family,
absolutely,
you don't know how to forgive. Right? Those things can be extraordinarily challenging. So that was a surprise. I understood that, but I really came to understand it when you talk to people and you hear not just their stories, but their strength, their courage, their conviction.
Right.
It only inspires you that much more.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is deep. And we're going to come back. When we come back, I want to hear where we can see this film and all of that, the good details, so that we can make sure we're in support. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures. A stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
All right, A Chance in the World. A Chance in the World. So tell us, how do we see this film? Where do we see this film, and when?
Sure. Well, it is showing on over 700 screens all across America for one night only.
Okay.
Long story as why it comes to be one night only, but it was in essence an opportunity for me to have the book adapted in a way that fit.
Okay.
And so the easiest thing to go do is go to fathomevents.com.
Okay.
And you'll see the movie trailer right on the page, and you just type in your zip code, and it'll tell you what theaters, and it is showing all across the greater Atlanta area.
Great. Oh, great. Is there an event in Atlanta around this that I should show up to?
Yeah, so the red carpet event itself is in New York City.
Okay.
I will be with my family, but
Got it.
We were thinking as much about getting it out to the community in particular. So we're working with foster care agencies all across America, bringing kids to the theater for free, asking people in appropriate theaters to donate books. Bringing my book, to them. I didn't see a movie until I was 17 years old. There was Footloose, actually, which was almost perfect, right? Okay. Dating myself here. But, boy, had I seen a story like mine on the big screen, I would have walked away saying, so I can do what he did. Right? This is possible.
Yeah.
And that was so important to me to have it adapted in that way. I do have a connection to the Atlanta area. My uncle, who I met much later in life, lives here.
Okay.
Brother-in-law here. My best man and godfather to my son lives here, so I'm in Atlanta for a fair amount. And then my oldest boy has designs on Morehouse College. So I'm going to be coming back here for a visit.
Okay, great. Wow. So then we'll have to have you back. We'll have to definitely have you back on one of those visits to Atlanta.
Sure.
But it's so fathomevents.com is where we go to find out where in your city the event is showing or the movie is showing.
Yeah. Fortunately we're partnering with the YWCA, the wonderful women of Delta Sigma Theta, who have made this is the third film that they've supported.
Oh, that's great.
So Marshall and Black Panther were the first two.
Wow.
The Deltas, I can't tell you how appreciative I am of their support. RSM, the financial tax and accounting firm, Global Force, my current company. The community is just showing up to support something positive and affirming at a time that we really need it.
I love that. That's great. Well, we'll do everything we can do from here to also support it. So I really encourage it. We'll make sure we put it on all of our outlets to make sure that people are there.
Dr. Pamela dust. Sprinkle that Dr. Pamela dust on it.
Yes. May 30th, A Chance in the World. Check it out. Check out the book. It's a best-selling memoir. And so check out the book. Get it read before the movie. If not, either way. So thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to go into the Balance Challenge. And then we'll say goodbye to Steve.
Keeping your balance with Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
All right, so this week's Balance Challenge is to check your expectations this week and all the things that you're doing, all things that you'd like to accomplish, all relationships that you have. What are your expectations, and what are those expectations going to lead you towards? And so I really encourage you to just spend the week evaluating those within your relationships. As you are looking at aspirations that you have for your career, I accidentally sent a text to my marketing team that said, I'm really looking for this particular initiative that we're working on to yield $5K every month. And he said, $5K? He said, that's a really low expectation. I said, no, it was a typo. But I love how he immediately checked me on, wait, what are you talking about? And he was absolutely right. It happened to be a typo, but sometimes we intentionally have low expectations that can most certainly rise to new levels. So that's what I want you to be very conscious of this week. That's what I want you to think about. What are your expectations? How can you improve upon those expectations so that you can set yourself up to create a path for yourself that's going to get you even further along than you originally thought? Anything to add to that? Is that good enough? Or
it's the essence of the mirror, right? You need to have a mirror. Mirrors aren't just there to reflect what we see so we can correct what we see.
Oh, I love it.
Right, so to have people around you who kind of correct you or check you and say, I just want to hold this up to you.
Right.
Very successful leaders, at least the ones I've been around, have that as a common thread.
Yes.
Because there's a certain humility you have to say, I don't have all the answers, but collectively, there's more wisdom in the collective than the singular.
Right.
But as leaders, you have to create the environment where people can give you that feedback without penalty.
Yes. Oh, I love it. That's beautiful. Well,
I'm thinking of a West Texas minister who I heard say, our job is not to call them out, it is to ask them up. Right? It's a different way of thinking about how we model for others, that we're not calling them to task.
And that's what he did. He asked me up. Let's think bigger than 5K.
I like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us,
Thanks
Steve.
for having me, Dr.
Excellent having you.
And my new friend, Ron.
And yes,
pleasure meeting you.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the Live Exchange.
Leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Love Notes with Dr. Pamela.
All right, welcome back. So the love note today is from Jana, and she's asking, Dear Dr. Pamela, I am over 40, I'm divorced, and I can't seem to meet anyone. Where do I meet people? I get this question all the time, and my answer, let me back up a little bit.